Would you say you're a guru in the field of battery energy storage? Would you go so far as to say that?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I'd say that this industry is still fairly new. And so anybody who's been in this industry for a number of years already has a leg up on just exposure more than anything. So
Okay.
I don't think
We'll
that,
call you a pioneer then. I'm going to
hey,
call you a pioneer in the
there you go.
field of battery energy storage. Currently, Mike is the head of product for North America at Trina Storage, where he
Mhm.
leads market expansion, shapes business strategy, and drives revenue generation. A lot of extensive experience in business. I won't read this. Work with for Mitsubishi Power,
Mhm.
lots of cross-functional teams, engineering teams, multiple degrees. So he is a learned man. We're talking Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, Master of Science in Business Analytics, and Master of Business Administration. Michael, do I have to call you Michael?
Hey, man, you can call me whatever makes you comfortable. So,
You're always Mike to me. You're
yeah,
Mike Watson to me.
yeah, there you go.
Welcome to the show, Mike. Glad you're here,
Thank
man.
you.
What's the number one thing that you would tell a new manager, first time leader going into it? You got to know this, do this.
Yeah, and thanks, Brandon. And just to add some context there, I mean, I think that when you seek leadership advice or a manager advice, there's a lot of theory out there, and I believe in functional utility. So give me something today that I can walk into the office tomorrow and use immediately. And so, among the plethora of tools available, I kind of honed in on three different things. And the number one thing I would say is, as a first time manager or first time leader, people should really focus on developing leadership within their team. There's a great quote by Roy Bennett that says, leaders create good leaders. And I 100% ascribe to that philosophy. I think that as a first time manager, you go in and you think, okay, my role is to remove roadblocks and solve problems. And it was certainly the case for me, as I thought at that time, my job is to solve everybody's problem. And
Mm.
as a result, what happened is my team started to become dependent on me to solve their problems. And within 6 months, I had a line out of my door, people waiting in line to get into my office to help me solve their problems. So I developed a new strategy within my own team, and I said, "Hey guys, I'd love for you to come and talk to me. Let's continue to do that. But if there's a problem, I want you to do three different things. Number one, identify what the problem is. Number two, come up with multiple solutions. And number three, tell me what you think is the best way to move forward. And then I will either agree or disagree." And so when we started implementing that, they come to me and they do those three things. And 9 times out of 10, I would agree. I would say, yeah, that sounds great. Go for it. And then before long, people started thinking, okay, I can run through this process with Mike, but I know he's just going to agree with me. So I'm just going to do it. Right. And so it created this team of self starters and problem solvers. And this can transpose onto any industry, whether it's engineering, finance, marketing, entertainment, whatever. We all face problems. And so teaching people how to solve problems and creating leaders within your team is like the number one thing you can do. And so also, as a beneficial result of that, for me, my own personal philosophy is when I'm leading a team is the ultimate goal for me is to make myself not needed. I want a
Mm.
team of
Yeah.
fully operating, fully functioning on their own. And so that's just, again, that's like the number one thing I would recommend is develop the potential for leadership within your team.
Yeah. Let's pause there. That's really good. Now, I'm wondering if what you're saying is about recognizing the people on the team that sort of have that natural proclivity towards leadership, or, and maybe it's both, or is it giving them the tools to lead themselves in a way? Is it a combination of those, or is it more of one or the other? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think you're on point. It's a combination of both. I think as a level set strategy, give everybody the tools to solve problems. And then in addition to that, identify those who have a strong skill set for leadership and develop that as well to help lead the team.
Sometimes it really just does take somebody pulling you aside and going, Mike, I believe in the fact that you have leadership potential. And maybe you're the first time they've ever heard that. And I think that's what started it for me. I was a real shy kid. I didn't know what I was doing. And when I was 13, somebody pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I see something in you. I see that you will be a leader someday." And I'm not sure I believed it back then. And I think about some of the people I've known that have become leaders that nobody would have picked. But let's go on to your second one. That first one's good. Build leadership within your team. What's number two?
So number two is, it may be obvious to most and maybe not so obvious to others, is quantify what it is that you do. All right. And again, you need to ultimately always speak the language of business. The language of business is profit equals revenue minus cost, right? So if you get in a position where you just say, yeah, we're doing a good job, well, okay, but what does that mean? How do you define that? So my philosophy is like, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? So how do you know what's a good job to one person may not be a good job to the other? So literally quantify what it is you do and keep your records up to date. And it might take some effort on the front end to build a structure, build some data sheets, some Excel spreadsheets or whatever. But then once you start putting in that data, it'll populate itself. And then you can bring that to your team and show growth, whether it be week over week, month over month, year over year. There have been many times in my career where we had a all hands on deck impromptu manager meeting, and we need you to go, division by division and see where we're at and areas of improvement, same day meetings. And we'd all come in there and just go round table, and people would say, oh, well, we're doing good, but we can improve here. And then they get to me, I have all the data, graphs, bar charts, line charts, and this is our percentages of increase, and this metric and this variable, and this within this time frame, and it's all there laid out.
I love this, man. This is good stuff. So be able to quantify what it is you do. What would you say you do here? Um, I think I'm glad you got that. I think most people come in and they think that it is their manager's responsibility to quantify what it is they do, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that, this key point here is it is for managers, but it's also for employees. Even if you don't manage anybody, still quantify what it is you do so that you can present that.
Wow. And how valuable is it as a manager, as a leader, to have your direct reports be able to tell you at a moment's notice
My gosh.
what they do, how they're doing it, what is their measure of success, where they are on their projects, all of those kind of things just makes life so much easier for the manager and the leader. But it's also building discipline in them for when they become move into management or leadership, right?
Oh my gosh, it's just it's priceless because to your point, I love the way that you think about it in your perspective. If your direct report comes to you and provides all this information to you, and you're like, wow, this person is a rock star, and think about that. If they're looking for a promotion, it's easy to justify, right? Because I can just take all this and use it to say, no, this person deserves a leadership role, and here I can prove it on paper.
Man, how important is that? Because so many people, they want promotions, they want to get a better position in the company, they want to raise. And when someone in leadership says why, they're like, well, I've done a great job. What have you
Exactly.
done though? And if
Exactly.
you have the discipline, and it is discipline, trust me, I'm not naturally disciplined in that, but keep, use your, whatever your project planning tool of choice is, use that, because now you've got the data. When they go, what have you done? And here's the thing, managers forget. We have very much a what have you done for me lately kind of mentality. Unfortunately, we remember the latest thing you've done. But if it's coming up on your 1 year and you're about to have your 1 year review or your mid-year review and you've done a ton of work, we don't have that all memorized, especially if it's a large team. But if you can keep track of your own success, you are going to write your ticket, because
There you
that
go.
manager is going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for this. And you all of a sudden are the golden child of the team if you're the only one doing it.
Yeah, and it
Man,
costs
that's how you
nothing.
do it.
Costs nothing. It's easy to do.
There's no downside to it.
Yeah, right.
I love it. All right. Those are golden. Let's see if you could go 3 for 3, bro. Two great
Okay.
tips. Let's
I would
go third one.
All right. Number three, I would say managing your internal relationships. And what I mean by that is when you get into a leadership role and a management role, people just have like blinders on, like, okay, I got to focus on managing my team. But there's this other term called managing up. Well, that means
Mm.
you need to look at your boss and your supervisor and who's above you, and you have to manage that relationship in an effective way. But then in addition to that, what people will tell you is you need to manage laterally as well, right? So your peers that also manage teams, and you need to develop those relationships because it could be at some point in your career you get promoted and then all of a sudden you're managing these people. Well, it'd be beneficial to already have that buy-in and have good relationships with them. Not to mention as you manage those lateral relationships, you can learn from how are they managing their team and how are they leading their people and what have they implemented that you can implement, and you can vice versa give them advice and focus on managing up when it comes to your boss's boss, right, and get FaceTime with that person, and so that that's part of building your own personal brand. And I'd say that developing really important relationships when it comes to corporate America and a big, Fortune 500 company. I think developing a relationship with HR and developing a relationship with your recruitment are also super important because as you advance within the company, if your boss knows you, your boss's boss knows you, HR knows you personally, and everybody likes you, it's gonna be much more easy for them to see you in a higher level position because they know brand. Everybody knows you. And then on the recruitment side, as you move through your career and as the recruiter at the company moves on to different companies, they're always going to have you in mind. So every recruiter I've ever come across with internally, I'm in my network that I'm connected with, that we still chat and we talk about positions in the industry.
I can see what you mean. Also, I think that pays off having that good relationship with the person who recruited you, because at some point you're going to need to recruit people for your team. And I'm not going to say you get preferential treatment, but there's nothing wrong with having a good relationship with them and go, oh, Brandon needs somebody on his team. I'm going to prioritize this because he's helped me out, or we have a good relationship. Along those lines, this is something I've been thinking about. I'd like to get your opinion on, is this idea of influence without authority, right? And so that's what you're talking about when you're talking about managing those lateral relationships with your team, with your colleagues, cross-functionally, and with your supervisor above them, and making deposits so that when it's time that you're asking for things, you've made those deposits. What are your thoughts on that? Influence without authority, making deposits, withdrawals, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I certainly think that a component of that is building your own personal brand. So it's good for you to be successful in your own scope of responsibility, which is your team. But you really need to also again make sure if you can get FaceTime with your peers, get FaceTime. If you can get FaceTime with your boss, get FaceTime with your boss. If you can get FaceTime with your boss's boss, get FaceTime with your boss's boss. And not necessarily to go on an ego trip and say, look how great I am, but literally just to get to know them as a person. And as they get to know you as a person, and they will ask you, so how's it going? And that's a perfect opportunity for you to say, I'm glad you asked. Let me check about this. Man, we're really doing great over here. We're doing this. We're opening up new product releases and or whatever it is, right? And it starts that conversation. So I've seen managers who just focus on their team and they don't do anything else. I'm like, man, you need to like talk
Yeah,
to everybody, manage all the relationships around you internally.
it's great. I'm going to throw in a little cautionary flag here. When you meet with your boss's boss, make sure that your boss is looped in and knows you're doing that. Otherwise, it could come across
Oh,
really, really bad. They call those skip level meetings. If you're going to have a skip level meeting, make sure that your boss knows about it. I think that's just a courtesy, but it's also just good politics, right?
great point, Brandon. Yeah, I 100% agree. That is a good political move. You don't want to have what's considered, secret meetings because it could be frowned upon. So yeah, good advice.
I've had situations in the past where my boss's boss invited me to a meeting and didn't include my boss on it. And the first thing I did was I sent her a note saying, "Hey, just so you know, so and so's asked me to come in and talk about this. Just wanted to keep you in the loop." And she was very appreciative that I did that. And she pulled me aside into her office and was like, "Let me give you the real deal on this, right? Like the sort of behind the scenes stuff that's going on that I'm not privy to." And so she kind of took me into her confidences and was like, okay, let me tell you about the relationship here and this. And I was new at the company at the time, so I really appreciated that. But man, it could have gone south if I had done the opposite, just gone and met with what's his name, didn't tell her. He was like, oh yeah, I met with Brandon. She'd be like, oh, you did? Well, let's talk about
Right.
that.
That's just good business etiquette right there, which again is a whole nother write a
Sure, of
book
course.
on.
Talk about the idea of, when I say solving for yes, I think that's kind of a buzzword that people hear. In a position of leadership, you're going to be asked to do a lot of things, and you're going to have a lot of people asking you for things. What are your thoughts, Mike, on this idea of when anybody asks you to do something, you solve for yes? What are your thoughts on that? Do you have any perspective on that?
I think the fundamental baseline to that solving for yes is you should never give a response of just no. Even if you can't, you should always explain that it can't happen at this time, but then give solutions in addition to that, right? So whether that be an internal request and say, oh, I would love to. Unfortunately, I'm booked out for the next 2 weeks with internal projects. Let me put you in touch with somebody who can lead you in the right direction. Or I even say this, I teach on giving how to, give interviews, right? So I'm a judge on the annual interview competition at the university here for the MBA students. And so what I always tell them is like, um, you know, often in interviews, they'll say, tell me about a time when you came up against this situation. What did you do? And when I walk them through that, I say, okay, look, you always say, I wasn't able to do it, this way. However, you have this option A, option B, option C. Give people options to move forward. So never just say
Yeah.
no. To your point, solving for yes. Even if you can't do it, always give additional feedback so that they have somewhere to go.
Never think that you're above helping people out that are not at the level you are or whatever. When you start to think that way, that's when bad things start to happen, when you feel
Your
like you're above helping other people,
Yeah,
right?
I always say your ego is not your amigo.
Your ego is not your amigo.
Yes.
Trademark Mike Watson. Copyright 2025 or whenever you
It's so
came up
good.
with
It's so
that one.
easy to remember.
Man, I need to have somebody on and just talk about that. There's ego. Actually, we talked a little bit about it on the one with John Ware about ego getting in the way of your own progress. You could be doing that. Man, golden stuff here, my friend. Recap. Number one, if you're new to management, just getting into that leadership role, number one, build leadership in your team. I'm gonna see if I can remember these. These are great. Build leadership in your team in a variety of ways, whatever ways that it means noticing a proclivity for leadership, but also giving them opportunities to grow. Number two, quantify what you do, but also allow them to quantify what they do. And that means you need to be able to explain your job succinctly. The people on your team need to understand what it is they're doing, what their metrics for success are doing, and at any time they need to know what the score is. Number three, manage relationships,
Mhm,
all relationships.
mhm. Right.
This way, and is there this way? I don't know. Whatever that means.
Let's say they call it dotted line relationships.
Oh God. Can we not use, do we have to use all of the lingo today? Yeah, manage all the relationships
Yeah.
and invest in those people,
Yes.
solve for yes.
Yes.
That nothing will benefit you as much as having good relationships with people, building other people up, not worrying about, did you get credit for this? Man, learn to talk well about people behind their back. Oh my goodness, all these kind of things. I'm going to have Mike back and we're going to discuss his skincare regimen and how to preserve your youth. Clean living, obviously, right, Mike?
I guess so.
We'll just leave that as a mystery. We'll leave it as a mystery. Thank you so much for being here, Mike. You're the best. And thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. Mike, I'm gonna let you have the last word. Say goodbye, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. I look forward to coming back.